Present. City of Pontiac, Oakland County.
Miller. Adela.
Present, attending remotely from the city of Pontiac.
Ramsky.
Attending remotely from the city of Pontiac.
Taylor Burks. Waterman.
Hello, Patrice Waterman, City of Pontiac, Oakland County. Sorry.
Too early for you this morning?
Yes.
Williams.
Present and attending remotely from the greatest city in the world, Pontiac, Michigan.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
I need a motion to excuse Councilwoman Miller and Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks.
So moved.
Support.
Move. Support. Okay.
Any discussion? Now roll call.
Adela.
Yes.
Shramsky.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
All right, Mr. Doyle, if you want to go ahead and get started with your notes.
So I submitted to the council. I tried to put together all of the questions or concerns that you had from the various department budget hearings. So you have that document, and you have the responses to the questions that you asked about the city clerk elections or marijuana regulations budget, my responses to the questions you asked me. In addition to that, I think yesterday I forwarded you a copy of the budget with page numbers of it from Mr. Carey. So I don't
Did
know.
everybody see the document?
I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. President, I've seen a document. I'm ready to give my role with this one. I have a whole lot of stuff that I've done thoroughly. So if I might, I'd like to move forward. And then whatever other council members have, so be it. But I have gone through this thoroughly.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Like I said, thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Attorney Sharp and I worked with this for the last 2 days to try to come to some, you might have some things that you want to change, but for the most part, I think we did an excellent job trying to get this thing together. First and foremost, I would like to suggest that all employees across the board get a 3% raise, not that 7%. Also across the board, all departments that have COVID-related matters, $5,000. Also, the restricted fund 101-756-971-000, the $3,150,000.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Waterman. Can you give me that number again? Mm-hmm.
Okay, 101-756-971-000, the $3,150,000 for the recreation, continue to keep that under restricted funds. And then also 101-690-818-016, put that under restricted funds for the CDBG, the $1,144,149. So whenever that should come in to be, that will be restricted funds. Received a report from HUD that states we have a contract with Oakland County. So that can't be moved until maybe 2 more years. So keep that as a restricted fund. Now going to City Council, page 4 of 67, account number 101-101-804-000, 217,000. That's with council, legislative, and the fiscal. And then if we add on the district, the 55, we would come up to 272.
So you want to change that to 272, that account
Yeah.
number?
Yes, sir. Then we have 101-814-018 legal, 40,000. 101-808-101 district projects, 98,000. 101-109-001, the COVID, 5,000. 101-101-818-000, other professional services, 120. 101-101-728-000, postage, 8,000. And the reason I would say 8,000, come 5 to 8,000, we have a new council, don't know what they might want to do. So I would broker from 5 to 8,000 for that, whichever council would prefer. 101-101-727-000, office supplies, 5,000. 101-101-731-003, computers, 3,000. And continuously keep the $100,000 that we had for animal control in our budget. Going to
So
the
what number,
mayor,
I'm sorry, what number was the animal control?
you know, I have to go look that one up for you, Mr. Dole, and get that to you.
You said 100,000, right?
Yes, 100,000. The mayor on page 5 of 67, 101-171-702-000, salaries 364,310. 101-171-728-000, postage, 5,000. 101-171-808-000, the 50,000 out. The COVID, 5,000. 101-171-901-000, printing and binary, 8,000. 101-171-818-000, other professional services, 10,000. 101.
Hold on, Councilwoman Waterman, Councilwoman Sharamsky has her hand up.
No, I don't.
Okay, it said raise hand. Okay, all right, continue.
101-171-861-000, travel expense, 5,000. 101-171-957-003, employee meals, 500. City clerk, okay, just would like for you to give an in-depth explanation for us for the 101-191-818-013, the elections grant, so we'd be clear on that. Accounting was good. Finance, page 6 of 67, 101-206-702-000, 311,250, removing the deputy director. 101-206-818-000, other professional services, 25,000. City clerk, 101-215-702-000, 178,375. IT was good, treasury was good. Building and maintenance, page 13 of 67. Now I'm gonna pass that one. Page 14 of 67, attorney, 101-266-804-000, legal, 25,000. 101-266-804-018, 50,000. 101-266-804-021, 250,000. 101-266-804-022, between 10 to 15,000, whichever council would prefer. 101-266-804-023, 6,500. 101-266-804-024, 20,000. 101-266-804-024, 50,000. 101-266-818-000, other professional services, 5,000. Personnel, 101-270-702-000, salaries, 121,488. 101-270-702-004, no overtime. Public safety with the sheriffs, it's good, but it's 101-301-818-000, other professional services, 4,000. 101-301-818-068, 13,703,215. 101-301-818-069, overtime, 900,000. And if council has some change with that, that's okay too. 101-301-931-001, building and maintenance, 10,000. Add on the DPU unit of 3 with 422,592, and possibly one detective of 144,000. If any other sheriffs are needed, then I would suggest that would come before the new council. Fire, page 17 of 67 is good. Page 17 of 18, public works, 101-447-702-000, salaries, 195,624. 101-447-731-003, computer equipment, between 10 and 15, whatever council prefers. 101-447-806-000, engineering, 250,000. 101-447-806-004, plan review, 65,000. Page 19 of 67, street lights, 101-448-924, the utilities is $1 million. Then 101-458-702-000, salaries, 220,000. 101-458-702-004, overtime, 5,000. 101-458-818-000, other professional services, 7,000. 101-458-932-004, vehicles service, 110,000. Community and economic development, 101-690-702-000, salaries, 178,601. 101-690-818-016, that's the grant, Mr. Clerk, I spoke of earlier. to take out and put in restricted for the 1,144,149. Then 101,690,702,004 overtime, 2,981. Planning, page 21 of 67. 101,721,702,00 salaries, 138,560. It can be amended if council prefers. Code enforcement, 101,733,702,000 salaries, 266,475. If council prefers, that could be amended as well. 101,733,816,016 Blight Court. It was moved, but it's for $90,000. 101,733,818,000 other professional services, $70,000. Parks and grounds maintenance, page 23 of 67. 101,818,745,012 supplies, $70,000. 101,818,808,000 parks neighborhood, $50,000. 101,818,818,000 other professional services, $35,000. 101,818,746,001 protective gear, $1,800. 101,818,818,006 contractual mowing, $200,000. 101,818,818,236 tree service, $125,000. Page 25 of 67, transfer out funds, 101,966,999,209, $687,491. 101,966,999,276, $1,850,201. Public Works.
I'm sorry, can you say that,
Which
Councilwoman?
one, sir?
The last one, 1,800,000.
1,850,201.
49.
Huh?
209.
Got it?
Yes,
That's
1,850,000.
101,966,999,276. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Public Works, page 27. 202,458,962,022 salaries, 192,296. 202,463,806,000 engineering, $200,000. 202,463,974,074 road construction, $3,800,000. Page 28, operations, 202,485,962,022, admit, 91,414. Page 29, 203,463,806,000 engineering, $110,000. Page 30, 203,478,818,245 snow removal. I said between 15 to 30,000, whichever.
So Councilwoman Waterman, are you gonna pass this out? Because you're going super fast. Go.
I will type it all up, but I believe the clerk is getting it, but I will type it all out, make sure all of you have it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, recreation and culture, page 33 Let me close my window. Sorry about that. Where did I say? Page 33 of 67, Recreation and Culture, 208-756-851-000. 5,540 telephones out since we don't have the recreational over there. 208-756-852-010. 3,070 out. And all this can come back in once we have a facility. But right now, since we're not over there, that's the reason why I'm stating these should be out. 208-756-820-008. The alarm, $700. 208-756-636-674 for 84,000. I think that can be held until we get a facility for transportation for our children. So however council would like to do on that one, that could be restricted or however we need to do that one. 208-756-731-003, computers, 5,000. 208-756-745-00, supplies, 35,000. All these are in. 208-756-779-020, programming, 50,000, and that could be amended. 208-756-818-006, mowing, 14,000, out. 208-756-941-001. The building and land, since we're not there anymore, that 180, that would be out. It could be amended once we get a facility that we're going to work with. 208-756-818-027 for 43,362 out for janitorial. 209-276-818-000, other professional services, 30,000. 208-775-702-000, salary of 30,000. 209-276-931-001, building maintenance, 200,000, that's out until we get a building, that could be restricted. 208-775-702-001. I forgot what the last numbers are. Overtime, 15,000. 208-755-819-000, contract, 25,000. Engineering services, page 43. 226-528-806-006, 100,000. 226-528-816-000, 200,000. And 226-528-18, I forgot the last numbers, that's a zero. I gotta find it on my other page. I'll make sure you get that, Mr. Dole. 226-528-957-022, admin, 208,755. Page 59 of 67, 465-265-974-021, the 800,000 for the parking and the 400,000 for the new elevator. 445-458-977-002, 1,300,000 out for vehicles. Page 62 of 67, Recreation and Culture, Phoenix Center parking, 585-564-818-000, nothing. 585-564-804-018, legal, 15,000. 585-564-962-022, 30,495. And that concludes my, my submission, Mr. President and members of the Pontiac City Council.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm looking.
Yes, Patrice, could you please repeat the public safety one? I didn't catch all of that.
Okay. Public safety, which one? Police
It
or
was-
fire?
It was police.
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
It was police.
Police, okay, let me go to that page. Okay, here we go. 101-301-818-000 for other professional services, 4,000. 101-301-818-068, 13,703,215. 101-301-818-069, overtime 900,000. 101-301-931-001, building maintenance 10,000. The DPU unit of 3 people, 422,598, and possibly 703,000. I'm sorry? Is somebody saying something?
I don't know where that came from.
Either.
Okay.
The three,
400,
and possibly, I got that one, and possibly,
okay. And then possibly the 1 detective for 144,000.
okay.
And then
That's
I said, if for the decision to be made for the new council, if other officers are needed. Is there anything else?
No, I'll wait for the rest of it typed up. That's the one I really didn't catch. My printer broke, so I'm writing this by hand.
Okay,
Thanks.
okay. That's what I did by hand. Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Peters.
Yes, Patrice, can I ask you to please repeat the numbers for the 422? I didn't get the last 3 on that.
For the 422,
442.
422,598.
Okay, so that is for the new traffic unit. Thank you.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What about the community policing that they have in here for the 986,062?
That's what I was saying. That would be enough, council, because we're talking about maybe another $1 million. So I didn't want to be the ones that said maybe the new council might be coming in. I know that they did say they needed a detective, and I did put that in for the 144 for the
Yeah,
detective.
no, that's fine. 422, 598, and then the 140. That's good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hey, and thank you for doing the work.
Thank you.
Attorney Sharp.
Just a quick question. Councilwoman Waterman, in terms of the community development for the CDBG, I guess for the salary for the 101-690-702-011, I didn't hear what, if that's staying, or did you mention, because I know you mentioned something about the overall professional services program.
Let's see. Find that page.
20 of 67.
Yeah, but I have to find it in my notes. What page I have it on my notes? Okay, what did you say again?
CDBG
The community and
salary.
economic development?
The 101-690-702-011 for
I said-
355.
No, I said 101 178,601. Was that
Excuse
wrong?
me? I don't understand. What are you saying?
101-690-702-000 salaries. Is that what you're
No, I
asking?
said 011.
Oh, 011. I don't have that one.
I know. That's the CDBG salary.
Oh, I did. I said the 1,144,149. I said to put as restricted.
That's not the salary. That's a different number. That's why I'm asking.
Oh,
101,
okay.
101, 690, 702, 011 is a CDBG salary for 355, 851. The other one
Oh, I
that you're
think we
talking
took
about.
that out. That's why I didn't say it. We took it out.
Okay, but it's in the book. So you would have to say
Okay,
that. You would
take out.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Anybody else have any questions to me? If not, I'm good, Mr. President.
Pro Tem Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Even though I've been under the weather, I kept looking at the under recreation and culture we have for the Phoenix Center parking. That was at 585-564-804-018. I'm starting at the $15,000 for Geomarco. If we're done with it, since the case was dismissed, I'm looking at all that we keep adding up, including the capital outlay, 585-564-974-035 for the $7 million in projects. Do we have anything else to do with this building if it was done and sold?
So, Council President, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Carrington. And this is gonna be, hold on, this is budget session, so we just want a free flow. So
Yep.
if you gotta jump in, just go ahead and jump
Okay.
in. We'll leave the formalities for 6 o'clock.
Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. So in response to Councilman Carter, while the bulk of the transaction has indeed closed, there is continuing to be some follow-up, with the matter. At this point, don't project it's going to be anything, sizable to the extent that, compares to what has occurred during the current fiscal year. But, just given the nature of the transaction, the partnership, we certainly do expect and want to make some allocation for some follow-up and continuation of the overall transaction.
Was there any revenue?
I can provide more details on that.
I appreciate it. The last thing I asked you, was there any revenue stream for the city in that
I
transaction?
I don't know the answer to that offhand. I'll have to
Thank you.
get that.
Appreciate it. I'm done, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Shramsky.
I'm looking, Mr. President. I'm looking at my notes. Patrice hit, of course, several of them. And I couldn't print the big document out. I got the little document. So I'm doing this all by hand. So I'm just looking.
Okay. One of the questions, Mr. Carrington, that kept coming up was GFL took over for the original Onyx contract, which was a long time ago. Is there a host agreement with them, and how much are they supposed to be paying us? I know when we gave them the recycling center, they were supposed to give us, I believe, 50 cents per ton that they loaded. So I don't know if they had the same agreement when they took over that contract, but where does it reflect on our sanitation fund?
So And we did discuss that internally. What happened is that GFL, my understanding is that they acquired or purchased Advance, who had assumed one of the contracts that the city had entered into. And so none of the underlying agreements would have changed. Your question about the revenue, I have not been able to get a response, and I'm working with the department to get some clarity on that. But in discussing it, nothing specifically changed in the transaction that did not, that was involving GFL and Advance, with GFL acquiring Advance and taking over the city's contract.
Okay, and then the second thing that needs to be revisited is the number of homes they're charging us for per rate, especially when they don't pick up vacant lots, needs to be looked at. I remember about 5 years ago when Holland was on the council, he was always inquiring about that, and I haven't seen any updated pricing based on that.
Okay. I'll have to get with Mr. Cooley on that.
Okay, if you can go to 101-000-655-690, and I'm looking at it from the budget report that you guys gave us. So that's on page 3 of 74. Under fines for blight court, and you guys have projected activity of 30,000 this year, and 20,000 is what the budget is requesting for blight court.
Right.
But yeah, so if you can kind of walk us through that, and then the second thing is the line right below that is PDBA parking fines. If we don't have any parking, how is it estimated revenue of $8,000?
And give me the general ledger account that you were referring to.
101-000-668.000.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, and you're referring, I see we've got 8,000 in the recommended budget. I don't know what for the parking fines, I'm not sure exactly where that revenue is originating from. I know we did show some activity in the current fiscal year. So that I'm not sure. I see we show 6,000 in that. I don't know. Again, I don't know the exact source of that $6,000. And what was your question on the blight court? I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, what makes up those fines? Because there's no projection in this year's budget, so it's activity that you showed at 27,000. I'm just trying to figure out where that revenue, what that revenue looks like. And then while we're on that same page, the investment income, why is that such a tremendous drop between what was budgeted for 2019 and what's expected in 2022, which is 101-000-665.001.
Yeah, and you're on the investment income. You're comparing that to prior fiscal years.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in going back a couple fiscal years ago. Certainly, as our cash balances change, and the nature of the investments that we have, we generally are in pretty secure investments. You continue to see decreasing interest rates in certain type of investments, treasuries and the like. And so, again, depending upon the cash balances, we would expect as those market rates have continued to go down, that the income from that investment income would in fact decrease.
Okay. Then my next question is on that same page, 101966699.280. What's Fund 280 that we transferred 275,000 this year, and there's nothing in the new year's.
That's a transfer in from that fund. So that's money that's coming into the general fund from that fund. And that's the Recreation and Culture Fund.
Okay, so there's no projection that that's coming in. I mean, recreation and culture means Phoenix Center.
That's the question I brought the other week.
No, that's not the Phoenix Center. That's part of the Youth Recreation Fund.
Okay, so that money's not projected this year.
And it could be it's just an end of the year because there's no we do some of these transactions at the year end. The projected activity is going to reflect basically activity that had occurred year to date. So some of these accounts, if there hasn't been any activity up until when these numbers were through April, if there isn't any activity in that account up until that point, we wouldn't pick it up in the year to date because it's an end of the year transfer or transaction or journal entry that we record. It won't always get picked up in that projected amount.
What I'm saying to you is the original budget was at $7,750.
Right.
Right. We amended the budget for $275,000 for some reason. It's projected to go back in 21, 22 to be zero. So I'm trying to figure out what that is and why was it an increase and why is it zeroed out going forward?
Yeah, and I'll have to take it's likely tied to a specific transaction, but I'll have to take a look at that particular item.
Excuse me, Mr. President, could you repeat that account number?
The account number I'm referring to is 1019666999280.
All right, I'll be going to investigate that one. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And then I think Councilwoman Waterman said that the district projects needed to be 98,000. I would recommend that being 150,000, which is 101-101-808-101 for the city council. And then my last question before I turn.
I'm sorry, what was your number, Council President?
It was 150, but that's just my, that was just
Okay.
my preference. So we can talk about that in between, but that would be my recommendation. That's what I had when I went through it. And then my last question that I couldn't track is, does any of this budget, Mr. Carrington, reflect the additional funds that have come in from the federal government, that 37 million or the piece thereof?
By and large, it does not. And you know, because while we have not finalized the way in which we're going to specifically account for it, in general, the money that we are to receive is going to be for, you know, essentially for projects that have not been, you know, costs that have not been incurred and things that have not been expensed. We did include initially that $5.8 million in the budget prior to us getting the final allocation where we ended up at the $37.7 million. But by and large, the appropriations that we have here don't necessarily reflect the monies that would be coming out of that fund, those funds that are coming under the American Rescue Plan. Now, that does not mean that there could very well be an expenditure, and depending upon how the federal government final guidelines dictate, if there's an expenditure that we have not incurred that could very well be applied against this, these monies that we'll be receiving, then yes, it could very well work that way. But right now, we don't have any particular projects that have been drafted with the American Rescue Plan, that $37.7 million that we'll be getting over the next 2 fiscal years. Those projects are not in the budget. And keeping in mind that when the recommended budget was drafted and submitted, we were only expecting $5.8 million to be coming in.
So is that 5.8 reflected in this budget?
There's $5.8 million in the revenue. And that was because we wanted to account for it, because we expected that the monies would be coming in, and we knew we needed to account for it from an accounting standpoint, from a timing standpoint. At the time, I think we put all of it into next fiscal year because we weren't sure of the timing. At this point, we expect some of those funds could very well be in this fiscal year and the remaining funds in next fiscal year. So we did account for those revenues. The $5.8 million of revenues are reflected in the budget, the recommended budget that you have.
Okay, so it's recommended in the budget. And how much is this particular budget revenue over expenditure? So what is this balanced, or is it a surplus in the budget?
There is a surplus.
Of how much?
For the general fund?
Yeah, for this particular budget year is what I'm saying. So
Are you talking about the year that
the year that we're about to budget for?
Oh, okay, for fiscal year 22?
Yes.
With the $5.8 million, and let me make sure I get the correct number for you. So for the fiscal year 22, the recommended budget had a surplus of just under 1.3 million.
Okay, so basically this budget reflects an additional 4.5 million in extra spending because of the money that was projected to come in.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Do y'all hear that, colleagues?
Yeah. I
Okay.
expect to have $14 million, but I understand it went somewhere.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was that, Councilman Carter?
I said I expected to see $14 million before any spending came in.
When you say $14 million, you're referring to what?
Well, because since the Phoenix case was dismissed, and if we didn't spend that money other than the $7 million on maintenance, and we start off with $21 million, I expect to have $14 million, not including the 5. And I will go into details on this next week when I bring my documentation.
Okay, because that's from an accounting standpoint, I don't think that's accurate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it.
Mr. President, I have one more thing I need to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to make sure that in the fee schedule, that the $3,000 is in that fee schedule. And also we need to make sure that that ordinance is revamped. There's a new budget ordinance needs to be revamped.
So we did capture the $3,000 in the fee schedule.
Okay.
We did review that with the clerk's office late last week, but we certainly have that. And I'm sorry, your second point, Councilwoman?
The ordinance, the budget ordinance.
Oh, yes, yes. And we are revising that budget ordinance that has been provided by the clerk. So we are having that prepared.
Okay, thank you.
Council
Okay,
President?
Attorney Sharp, go ahead.
Okay, so I just need to clarify, maybe I got this wrong. So just what Mr. Carrington just said. So you got the 5 million, you put the 5 million in, you got a $1 million surplus. So had you not put the $5 million in, you would be at a negative. Is that correct?
No,
That'd be
because
like-
the thing to keep in mind is we don't, and as I stated before, we had not finalized how we were going to, account for that money in terms of if it was going to come into the general fund or exactly how that money was going to be accounted for. We knew that there was $5.8 million on the table, and we did want to, make sure that that was included. The thing to keep in mind is with these types of funds, you don't always book the revenue on the front end. The way that it's appearing with the IARP funds, these funds could be deferred, and they are going to be booked as these expenses are in fact incurred. So you don't always have a dollar for dollar offset in terms of when the monies are received. You can receive, we could receive this $18 million and it not be expensed until a fiscal year different than a fiscal year different than from what it was received. And
I'm
so
only speaking of the 5 million. I'm only speaking of the 5 million. So right now, how is the 5 million? Is it in total or just partial? Again, explain that.
It would have to be a combination of a partial and actual expenses, because at the time that the budget was put together, when we're talking next fiscal year,
Right.
we did not have guidance on exactly how that money was going to be able to be utilized. So in looking at it, I know that there are expenditures in here upon which the monies can be applied.
Were they applied? The question is the 5 million applied, or is the 5 million not applied, or is there a partial 5 million?
It would most certainly be a combination. Now, I can't get, at the time that $5.8 million was included, I did not have an exact list of how that was going to be allocated and be absorbed.
I knew that's not my question, though. That's not my question. My question is just simply, is it the complete 5 million, a part of the 5 million, or not at all? It has to be one of those. And so you're saying it's partial 5 million. It's not all the 5 million.
It would, in all likelihood, it would be some amount of $5.8 million. The question is how much of that $5.8 million would be spent and applied against these expenses, and then how much would be deferred until the following years. At the time, again, we did not know how long we would have to spend the funding.
So this is my other statement, and then just to recap for council.
And if I could just say one other thing, Counselor, we're not talking about a situation where there was a deficit and this $5.8 million is being used to cover the deficit. That's certainly not the case. We have $5.8 million. We have tens of millions of dollars in expenditures, for which we know that $5.8 million will be able to cover a large, significant portion of that $5.8 million will be able to cover those expenses. I did not have an idea at the time exactly how that would unfold.
I understand that. So as a suggestion, there was some discussion maybe a couple of meetings ago where I know the mayor had indicated having some discussion with council about including that money into the budget, which just my opinion, which doesn't matter. I just don't think that's a good idea. But based upon what you're saying, I would think that council would need to have that discussion as to whether or not they do want to, going forward, kind of include that in their budget. Because I think that it also kind of gives a different, it kind of distorts the actual budget. So going forward, I would think that maybe, is it possible to set aside those funds? And so when you are able to determine which projects you can use them for, you will have a better picture as to what those monies are going to be used for, and not necessarily count on them going forward in your budget. Because if you start combining in the budget, then you think that's actually the money that you have to work with going with the next fiscal year, when that's not going to be the case. So
yeah, and I certainly follow your point. I think just from an accounting standpoint, if we get, let's say, the almost $18.9 million from the federal government, and recognize that money, the way that is being utilized, or the way in which it's to be utilized, we would not show that revenue, that $18 million, nearly $19 million in revenue, only to the extent that there's expenditures to support it. And so, to your point, it can either be done a couple of different ways. One, it would be you receive the money into a different fund and then transfer that money into the general fund as those expenditures are realized, or you can receive that money into the general fund, and what's not allocated would be deferred until the following fiscal year. It has the same effect. Again, the bottom line is, and I think this is the point that you and others may be getting to, we don't want to use this money to show that it's covering for expenses that are for which it was not intended, and that was not the rationale behind the way in which we used the $5.8 million. Nor is the way that we're going to be using it going forward. Again, based on the information that we've been provided, over the last 6 weeks from the federal government, we have a better idea of how to account for and how to recognize it. And I think, in all likelihood, it should be one of two ways: one of setting it into a separate fund and transferring it in as we identify those expenses. And you also got to keep in mind that we can also use it to offset lost revenues. So transferring it in as those expenses are identified and they are incurred, or going the other route where we just bring it in and defer it to whatever extent that money is not being utilized in any particular fiscal year in that annual budget.
Okay.
Whatever the case may be, there should just be a discussion with council so they can have an idea and come up with what they think probably would be best, so that in planning future budgets, it's just easier for them to.
I think it's key to have that transparency. I certainly think you want to have that transparency.
The original question, and I see Councilwoman Peeler's hand, but I just don't want to lose this thought, Councilwoman. So please give me a point of privilege. There's at least $4.5 million in this budget that was based on $5.8 million coming from the federal government into the city of Pontiac. Is that correct or not?
That is correct.
Okay,
but,
so I just want hold on. I just want to what I'm saying to you, Mr. Carrington. I understand where you're talking about with the accounting. I just want to let my colleagues know, as we may be increasing spending in departments or whatever, that is based on some of that 37 million. So even if you had 37 million, if you take away 6 million from that 37, now you have 31 million left based on this budget. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. So we're spending future money based on this particular budget, and that ARP money is actually tied into it. So I just want to let everybody know, as you see these numbers, it's inflated with that money coming in, part of.
But Council President, I don't want to I think you raised a good point, but I don't want to give the wrong impression, because that $5.8 million, I have every expectation that over the next fiscal year, that's going to be able to be applied against expenditures that are here, as well as replacing lost revenue that the city has either incurred or will incur. So it's not, you know, I don't.
Mr. Carrington, what I'm saying to you is one of the things this council does, for lack of a better term, is we're always frugal every year. And
Sure.
so as a lot of these decisions that are getting made are made for the next council. And
Right.
so what I'm saying is we want to let the people know that they will have 31 million to work with versus having 37 million to work with, because this
I'm with
budget
you
is
on that.
already
Okay.
using
I'm
6
with you.
million. I just want people to know as we're adding to departments. Councilwoman Peeler.
Mr. Carrington, I understand that the fire department brought a check for $370,000 on Friday, as well as last December. So where is that money at?
In terms of the budget, so that money that you're referring to was part of the CARES Act that was passed at the federal level, and it came via a state program that was rolled out by the state, basically reimbursement for certain public safety costs, and we recognize that money on the revenue side. There's a other federal grants revenue line item that we have that we collect those monies into. So we place those funds into our other federal grants on the revenue side.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President?
Thank
Just
you. Hold
wanted
on,
an
hold on.
explanation, Darren.
Yep. Hold on before we get started. Councilwoman Miller and Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks are here, but if they
Okay.
can state where they're from the record, and then I recognize you, Pro Tem.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman. Okay,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Miller.
Yeah, this is Councilwoman Miller, City of Pontiac, virtually.
Okay. Councilwoman Taylor Burks.
President, I think you need to tell her to hit *6 on her phone.
Okay. If you can hit *6. Okay. Go ahead, Pro Tem Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Carrington, I asked you a couple of weeks about the comprehensive annual financial report. You said
Yes.
the city didn't use that format. I did consult the state of Michigan and the treasurer, and I requested a copy from the state. And I'm still asking you that I want to see the comprehensive annual financial report for the city for this year and prior years. I had no problem receiving it from Southfield, Novi, Portage, Birmingham, Midland, Lansing, and it shows all the investments of what the city is doing with our money and not just in our budget. And I'm seeing some very unclean hands. I'm not saying you, but I'm just asking you, if you are the authority, I would like to see the City of Pontiac comprehensive annual financial report for the year of 2020 or 2019.
And just so we're clear, Councilman Carter, the
Yes.
city does not prepare a document that many people, myself included, refer to as the CAF, as you laid out, a comprehensive annual financial report. The city does, as it's required to under state law, we do prepare an annual audit. You have some communities, depending upon, in my experience, it's depending upon the structure of those communities. A lot of times if they have a lot of different reporting units and based upon the structure of their finances with captured districts and a lot of different component units and so forth, as well as larger municipalities and local governments. The city of Pontiac does not, and I'm not aware of, I haven't in my research, I have not seen a CAFR for the city. And I've looked at the audits for the last several years. And so I know you said you inquired to the state. I'm not sure what their response was, but we do not prepare a CAFR. We do prepare an annual audit. I'm sorry, sir?
I said I'll be receiving that in total shortly.
Yeah, so just so we're clear, the CAFRs is it's a, you know, a broader document that gets into certain areas, and again, it's largely due to, in my experiences, it's based on the structure. Like if you look at certain communities, City of Detroit, for example, where they have
But
a
it's
downtown
also
development authority.
required by public.
I'm sorry?
And that's why I'm asking, it's required by public.
We're required to prepare, as we do, a annual audit. I mean, the city would not,
And the city
I would
cannot
not.
show me, sir, the city cannot show me investments.
I
that
can
are current within this budget.
I can certainly provide you with that information. We do have that information in terms of the city's investments and the like. I know that question came up about investment income. We don't have a ton of money that's currently invested, is not invested in a lot of, very risky or sophisticated investments. We're primarily in CDs and treasuries, and, state law somewhat limits, or it does limit what type of investments we can get in. But that information is certainly can be made available. Any questions that you have on that, just let me know and I can get that information for you.
Just asking again, just to be the third time. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Carrington. I won't be asking gently anymore. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Councilwoman Miller, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Mr. President.
Okay, Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks, if she's on the line. Okay, while we're waiting on her, if we can go back to the budget, I'm trying to pull up my screen. Yeah, if we can go to city events, which is 101-774-745.002. They had a dream cruise. Do you see that, Mr. Carrington?
I'm still finding that page. Give me one second here.
Okay, on your sheet is page 6 of what you gave us.
Okay, you said give me that GL again.
101-774-745.002.
And what page number was it on?
It was on page 6 of what you gave us, which was the
Okay.
fiscal year budget, departmental budget with page numbers.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep, and so that's at 50,000, and then right below that, 101-774-745.003. For a total of $80,000. I would like that budget item to be moved from city events and cut in half and move to the city council. So 40,000 under city events 774 to be itemized to council, so the future councils can be included in the city events.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Yep. So what's your question, Mr. Doyle?
Still muted. I'm sorry. You said you wanted to move 40,000 from city events to the city council's budget?
Yes. With it itemized as city events council participation. Okay, and did we include everything in the budget that the court wanted, Attorney Sharp?
I have no idea because that's something that Mr. Carrington talked with the court with. So I have no idea what those,
Yes.
whether or
So,
not those changes have been accepted.
yeah, so there have been drafting up a couple of things related to that. I have been in contact with the court administrator. One is on the issue of salaries. And we did have some direction in terms of making sure that the vacant positions were funded, as well as an increase to all the positions. So we are working those numbers up, and we'll have those revised numbers. And then there was also some indication in terms of providing funds for capital expenditures. And the court administrator did give me an idea of that. There was a study that was done several years ago for the court, as well as there's some other capital items that she identified within the courthouse. And so I'm just working with our DPW team to try and put some numbers on what those expenses may look like. I don't necessarily expect that we're trying to do all this in the upcoming fiscal year, but I did want to provide some type of comprehensive view of what the expenses were based on that 2016 study, and what the court administrator had indicated was kind of needed on top of that 2016 study. So those are the two items: the salaries, and we've got those numbers being worked up, as well as the capital expenditures.
Mr. President, if I can say something, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I will get in touch with Ms. Lynette and see if I haven't received a call, so I'm going to assume that everything's working up. Be okay for it, but I'll make sure the next time we meet.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's in there because every other city department gets to speak.
She did request those raises because they need the position of it, and they are too low a level to get anyone qualified for those positions to stay there.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
I have one question. I've been on here for quite a while, but I didn't hear. Did we get to the police the email that we received yesterday in regards to our officers? Have we gotten there yet or no?
Just go ahead, Councilwoman Miller. We talked about the police briefly, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was looking at the quote with 11 people that I received yesterday, the day before. And so I was looking at the input. My question to, I guess, to Mr. Carrington, maybe go to him, is would there be additional 11 deputies that we're referring to, or just inclusive of the deputies that we currently have? But I think it's the latter, but maybe you can explain to me.
So we had included in the recommended budget, there was a total of 8 additional deputies, and talking with Captain Ewing. So the 11 would be that I believe was presented to, in the numbers that the 11 that was presented in Captain Ewing's number, 8 of those had already been included in the budget. And then, so that would be an additional 3 that would need to be added. And I believe that's what Councilwoman Waterman had alluded to in her comments earlier. So we already did, we did have 8, which included a traffic unit. And the information that Captain Ewing had put together would require an additional 3 deputies be funded to get us to the full 11.
Now, my question to you, because I this is important, I want to know. I see that they have community policing. So I guess the question that I would ask is, would they be in the neighborhood? Would these officers be specifically for the neighborhood? I know some going to be for traffic.
Yeah, so as have been discussed, 3 were for the neighborhood. And so that, that left 5 that were currently budgeted, with another potential 3 that would be added based on council's desire. bringing 8 that would be focused on some additional policing. I know the discussions with the mayor and Captain Ewing, as a follow-up to the departmental hearings that we had, the focus was on, kind of that community policing, getting the resources into the neighborhood. We were certainly deferring to Captain Ewing and from an operational standpoint, and kind of the information he had provided was that there was going to be a deputy that was going to be kind of targeting one or more council districts based upon funding. So if there were a total of 5, they would spread those 5 amongst the 7 council districts. Or if there was an additional 3 that would be provided, then he would be looking at, having one deputy for each of those individual council districts. But we were certainly deferring to Captain Ewing in terms of how those resources would be deployed. And I think he had every intention, based on the conversations of using them, I think, in line with the community policing and how most people would define that.
My last question, Mr. Carrington, Mr. President, if you mind. In regards to that, in light of listening to the conversation, because like I said, I've been on here quite a while and I've listened to the amount of money that I noticed that we put the money for the COVID inside of our budget here. We look like we're spending money we don't have yet. So this million is a big price tag. I'm gonna be honest. When I looked at it, I bagged up a little bit. I was like, whoa. I don't know if we can afford this, even though I know we need it, because just today somebody stopped me and asked me where's the police in City of Pontiac. I said, they're here. It's bad out here. It's really getting bad. Crime is getting really, really bad. So it is needed. The question that becomes is, can we afford it with this price tag that was in it? Thank you, Mr. President. I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, if I might.
Yeah, go ahead,
Well, I'm
Councilwoman.
glad Councilwoman said that, because the budget that we passed for the Sheriff's Department, I didn't know that was including those deputies. I thought those were separate.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I feel that I don't know if the city is going to be able to continuously to bring 11 sheriffs on. And I know that we needed the 3 and that could be moved on. So that 13 million, what does that include? Does that include the 11?
No, the 13 million I'm sorry, go ahead. The 13 million included 8, Councilwoman.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was going to be a part. So that needs to be negotiated. Because I do understand what you're saying, Councilwoman Miller and the rest of us. That's a big chunk of our budget right there.
Yeah.
That's a very big. What you saying, Councilwoman Miller?
You're right. It is.
Right. Right.
So,
I know we need it, and I know Councilwoman Peeler, she brought to our attention. I didn't have any problem with what we have and bringing on the 3 additional DPU and maybe the 1 detective. No problem. But that needs to be negotiated. That 8. Well, if that's 8, then those 3 that we said for the unit, that needs to be a part of that, because that's just too much for our budget right now to handle 11 additional sheriffs. So that needs to be done. But I know we wanted the 3, the DPU unit, because you'd have 2 sheriffs and a weight master, and he would pay for himself.
Are you saying, when you say the 3, Councilman?
I'm sorry.
The traffic unit?
Yeah, the traffic unit. We need that.
Right.
And we need the detective. So we need the 4. We need those 4.
Well, I think that there needs to be a conversation, Mr. Carrington, because their contract is up at the end of the year. And when the Sheriff's Department first got here, they did a blitz throughout the city. And I know we had a conversation. I don't know if Councilwoman Miller was on yet, but we had a conversation then about having another surge through the city. And I would much prefer to see not only have the traffic, but instead of employing at $140,000 a piece, a lot of full-time people really being able to ramp up some different surges throughout the city, especially peak times. Because the problem with paying for an officer in the wintertime, when the summertime is where we really need them, creates a problem. And so I don't know who's talking to them from the city, but that conversation needs to be had about kind of getting these costs down. We're spending almost half of our regular general fund budget just on police and fire. And it's continually increasing. I know that when it first came, the city of Pontiac was in dire straits and some other things. But I think now that the contract is up and it's been revisited, there needs to be some conversation on some cutting costs, because everything they've asked for, this council has always given them. But at some point, we just can't afford it, but the citizens need service. And I just don't know who's having that conversation and what it looks like, because they've never came with any cost reductions since I've been on council. And it's not to say that they're not doing a good job, but I think that the conversation between Sheriff Bouchard and the city needs to be happening. And so, Mr. Carrington, if you're the contract compliance officer, then those conversations need to happen before this budget, because we're paying full freight for everything. And we need not only all the sheriff's help we can get, but we need to make sure that it's sustainable. And that's the conversation that needs to happen. Because when we first got it, the city didn't have good faith and credit. They made us prepay for services because they didn't know if the city was going to be able to even sustain it and afford it. We're in a much better place now, but we haven't seen any of those discounts for being a good customer. And so my insurance goes down every year because I kept progressive, right? And we haven't got any of that from the sheriff's department up to this point. And I just don't think the city has been approaching them asking for any cost savings.
Mr. President, I remember I was in the audience, I wasn't on the council, but I remember it very well. And you're very correct. You, prior council, and even this, we have always given, I support my police officers, nothing against the officer at all. But this is business. We have to, it got to be kind of some incentive to want to give you, I mean, more than half our budget is this. It's not acceptable. It's something need to be worked out here. I totally agree. We should be, it's just like, well, we want to go there with the water. Same thing, we supposed to got smaller charge for that, but we're paying more. But where do we get a break? Where does the city of Pontiac get a break here for being good customers and taking care and paying and giving you everything you need for the last 6-7 years? Something got to give here. It's quite a lot. I paused when I seen those numbers. Ooh. And I know how bad we need it, but they got to give us more than what we got here and for what we give them.
Council President?
Let's go ahead, Attorney Sharp.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Carrington, did you review the document that was submitted by the Sheriff's Department?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you are familiar with the additional 11?
Yes.
Because that says additional 11. That doesn't say comprising of 11. That says addition of 11.
Yeah, I think he's speaking. I think he's speaking from his perspective in terms of what they currently have. So, I'm sorry.
I'm saying that's not the way it reads. It reads additional. It says we are proposing the addition of 11 deputies.
Right.
It doesn't say we are proposing a total of 11 deputies.
Well,
addition.
Yeah, and I think he's saying addition 11. When he says an additional 11, I think he's speaking in terms of the current deployment level.
But then you would say 8, 9, 10, 11. Then you would say additional 3, wouldn't you? If you say you got 8.
Yeah.
No. What I'm saying, the 11 is in reference to the current budget level, what's currently contracted. If we're talking about, we included an additional 8 in our budget numbers. The contract does not include those. So I think, and I can speak with Captain Ewing.
That's too much.
But I think what he's referring to is what they currently have deployed on behalf of the city of Pontiac. And so his proposal calls for 11. When we look at it from our standpoint as the city of Pontiac and where we are with the budget, we did include some of that 11 was included in the recommended budget. And so I don't, he's not necessarily, I don't take his comments to come from the perspective of what we have in a proposed budget. I take that from the context of what we currently have contracted with the sheriff.
Okay, I think you definitely got to get that kind of solidified and clarified. So council knows exactly what they want to put into the budget. But also, I'm not sure, Councilwoman Waterman, did you address, or is this part of it with the sheriff at City Hall? Was that also a part of it or no?
No, I didn't address that.
Okay. And I think the thought was, if I remember correctly from a prior discussion, it was taking the sheriff that was, it's already the person that's already at the Pyrex and bringing them over. And so they should already be included, I would imagine, in the budget.
So the discussion that I had with Captain Ewing, he his recommendation was not to use a fully costed out deputy. That they did have a program that he felt would meet the needs and fit for the role of that city, having an officer in City Hall and come at a much lower cost. And I don't recall, I think it was basically at 25,000 per 1,000 hours, I think was the cost. And that was the information that Captain Ewing had provided on that he, again, his recommendation was not to use.
So was there a cost? So was there a cost for a deputy that was at the youth rec center, or no? Because if there's a cost for the person that was at youth rec center, then it's like it balances out because you were going to pay for that person anyway. You understand? That's not like going to be a new person.
You're saying it's not necessarily a net increase, and I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Okay, were you finished, Councilwoman Miller?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, as you can see, there's some things that need to be worked out, because that's where I read that email to additional 11. So we need to find out. So with that, I'm done.
Yeah, if you can get us clarity, Mr. Carrington, that would be helpful. I want to go to the Phoenix Center under Recreation and Culture. And I don't know if Councilwoman Waterman touched this already, but the one I'm looking at is 585-564-810-000.
I'm sorry, give me that one more time.
585-564-818-000, and it's on page 43 of what you gave us.
I did.
Okay, and so the $150,000 you got for other professional services, what is that?
See, I think that may be for cost for maintenance and upkeep, but I'll have to take a look at that specific account there. And you're talking about the other professional services in 585, Fund 585.
Yep. So I want to look at that. And then my question is, with the upgrades of the Phoenix Center, why are we booking in all the depreciation at the same rate?
And that could just be, an accounting. I don't know the
What I'm saying to you, Mr. Carrington, is if there's a projected $20 million worth of work that's supposed to be going into the building.
No, I certainly understand the point that you're raising. And I'll have to take a look. I don't know to what extent that estimate that I included in there necessarily fully took into account whatever changes may be occurring in the next fiscal year. So I'll certainly make sure I included a accurate number.
Okay, and so let me see. I think there's one more thing I had. Okay, if you can tell me what 585-925-995.084 is under debt services for the Phoenix Center.
I believe that's the, I believe in it with the transaction. That's either a letter of credit. I don't think it was a letter of credit. I believe there was some seller financing, and that's the interest that at the time of closing that was projected out on that seller that seller financing that was a part of the the transaction that was approved. It included different components. Money was paid, and there was some again seller financing that was.
So that's a
also part of
revenue?
that final transaction. I'm sorry.
That's a revenue?
No, that's an expense.
And my problem with that is part of Dearborn Capital and their terrible agreement with the city was they were supposed to pay over, and they were supposed to get all of the closing costs associated with the city for them getting extension in order to pay.
Okay.
So I don't know how we have on our books almost $500,000 in closing costs.
Again, my understanding is that the final transaction that got approved included, as part of the final payment, there was financing that was taken on by the seller. Essentially, they were deferring part of their the price that they were receiving from the public-private partnership. That debt that was the seller's holding or was holding, holding as by virtue of the final agreement, that debt and the interest on that debt is what's reflected there.
I'm confused, Mr. Carrington. If you could just
let me try
an explanation.
And I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say you sell property to a seller for $10 million.
Uh-huh.
You take $8 million, you get $8 million in cash, and then the other $2 million you get in the form of what's referred to as seller financing. So basically, you're selling it for 10, but you're only getting 8 at closing, and then you're providing the buyer with $2 million in debt. That's seller financing, and it carries an interest, and so you'll get paid that $2 million component of your overall purchase, of your overall selling price. You get paid over time along with interest on the outstanding debt amount.
And what I'm saying to you, Mr. Carrington, as I get your analogy, my question is, there should be a revenue from Dearborn Capital as part of that public-private partnership that relieves that $500,000 from the city. Right now, it says that basically they're paying us $36,000 and we're eating $443,000 for a total of $407,698 in this new fiscal year. That's what they're saying.
Yes, that those two amounts, you have debt service and interest expense. That's the debt that was taken on at closing. That's the payment on the principal and the interest on the outstanding amount.
I understand this. What I'm saying to you is the reason that Dearborn was able to go from January to March or whatever it was because they agreed to pay all additional expenses for the closing to the city. And so I'm wondering why that's not reflected in the interest expense for the Phoenix Center, unless it just reflects somewhere else in the budget.
That's something separate. So Dearborn Capital would have paid that interest expense. That money would not have come to or through the city. That would have gone to the seller.
What I'm saying to you is, you're saying that the city, in this case, is the seller, and that's why we have $407,698 we accrued. So if you can just tell me what that, if you can just find out what that money is for and what it represents with an explanation, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll put that in writing. Yep.
Okay, and then if we can go to 101-266 804.018.
I'm sorry, give that GL to me one more. I was writing a note.
Yeah, we're going to the attorney fees, Department 266 attorneys on your pages. It's page 45. If you can just walk me through that page with the mayor's recommended budget and why we're paying Jamarco these particular fees. And also it was asked where Mr. Gibbs was getting paid out of, and that information was never given to us.
Yeah, and I do have that information. I was working on written responses to the questions that the clerk compiled from the hearings. But in response to Mr. Gibb, that's going to be in other professional services.
So that's that's the 95,000.
That when I say Mr. Gibb, that's where the current fiscal year. I'm not necessarily speaking to next fiscal year. I'm just saying for the current fiscal year, because it could be for different types of.
What I'm saying to you is the current budget only allows $15,000. We know that according to the charter, the mayor can spend money on legal and attorneys. The problem is the activity to date is 74,000, which is almost 60,000 above where it's been, and there's been no reconciliation made to spending that. If you're telling me that he got paid out of the other professional services, which accounts for that $74,596 without any approvals, that's problematic. But we're just talking about the budget today. So if you can tell us what's been paid out of the other professional services and why you guys are budgeting for the 95,000 for the year coming up. And then if you can speak to us where prosecution goes up to a big round number of $300,000 when you guys are already 15,000 over in projected activity from this year, and then you guys are increasing MTT. What is MTT?
The Michigan Tax Tribunal.
Okay.
That's generally going to be where a lot of that is tied to property tax.
Okay, and then code enforcement.
Under the attorney department.
I'm all on the same page. If you can just explain from the top to the bottom, that would be helpful to me.
And you're wanting me to explain what's being requested in the budget?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're attempting to do is to have the amount in the recommended budget be a realistic projection of where we think the 12 months starting July 1st is going to be. Obviously, we don't have an ability to fully predict these things, whether it's attorney services or the like. For example, other professional services, we would, based upon whatever may arise, we would utilize that for various law firms and attorneys that the city would have to contract with. We broke out Gianmarco, GMH, as the city's attorney because we know that there are certain specific activities that they provide, such as the legal prosecutions and the like. And so,
what I'm saying to you, Mr. Carrington, I guess, is this. It seems as if we are paying for additional standalone a la carte service when the city, the firm of Jamarco Mullins is supposed to be the city attorney, is how the mayor has been using it. And so I don't know when you guys have negotiated a fee, but it seems like a flat rate would be better than breaking down these 5 services where we're paying them, if I just do the math really quickly, almost $500,000 and some change already in the budget. And then there's also cost overruns, and then there's another 95,000 that may or may not be Attorney Gibbs to go forward. So that's where my
So,
concern
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
just all together, because it doesn't seem like we're getting an in-house rate. It seems like we're getting the rate that we would be paying attorneys if we were just purchasing them on a one-off basis versus doing what they need to do for the city. Because if we
Okay.
had, so that is very problematic to look at the rate. So I would like to know the hourly rate that's accounted for these budgetary items that you guys are doing. And I want to make sure they're not billing us when they're in the bathtub.
Gotcha. So, and I think you touched upon what I was going to say, Council President. You know, most of the law firms that I'm familiar with, and I'm sure you and the other members of council are generally going to charge on an hourly rate. That's the structure here. We break it down for cost allocation purposes and billing purposes. You know, they're itemized to certain specific accounts, and that's why it's reflected here. But you know, the law firm, as most any other law firm that the city contracts with, whether it's Miller Canfield that's been helping with the retiree health care, or other law firms that do, you know, work related to other activities, it's going to be done on a billable hour. We're billed on an hourly basis. We're billed generally billed monthly, and those bills are reviewed and you know, to make sure that we're certainly are getting our money's worth from the funds that are being expensed. And that's a similar structure as we use with GMH. And it's not, you know, there's not any preset, you know, upfront money that's being provided. We're simply trying to estimate, based on the number of hours and the rate, how much we think is going to be incurred at the end of the day.
And I understand that, Mr. Carrington. I will just say this, that they've always went over. And so whatever is in the budget, they're going to find a way to maximize that budget for legal services. So I would just like to know what the hourly rate is. And
Sure.
As contract compliance, again, the same thing with the police department. These rates shouldn't be increasing on us every year, especially when we're a substantial client as part of the city. And so we need to start flexing our city muscle when it comes to paying for services.
Understand.
And then my last question, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Why are we paying for all of these cell phones? So if you can give me a list of who's going to have cell phones in the city. I see it throughout all of these departments. Who has city phones? That would be nice for me to know.
Okay. You just want a list of who has a city cell phone?
Yeah. Anybody else have questions?
I mean, Mr. President, you brought up a question. I was writing some notes writing about the attorney. You know, less than 2 years ago, I used to read the journal on how much these attorneys make in the city of Pontiac. Now, police and fire, which is where they do a job here, but I declared that I believe that the attorneys would be the next highest fee that we pay to any services that we got in the city of Pontiac. We come to court with 3 or 4 attorneys that we never seen in our life. Mr. Carrington, or whoever needs to, administration, you need to set a set fee. With your experience of being in finance, Mr. Carrington, most cities of our statute, how do they employ their attorneys? Do they do it this way, or do they have like a set fee that we pay them and that's it, hourly? Do you negotiate it and bring it into the city? How do you see this mostly done in other cities?
And in my experience, I think it's 2 things. One is whether or not you have an in-house attorney or not. And then secondly is how, if you don't have an in-house attorney, how is that, you know, how are the fees structured? And certainly I think now, given the complexity that most cities face, regardless of size, you're you know, either fully outsourcing it, or you're having to outsource a large part of the legal services, because it just requires so many different specialties. It's hard for one or two attorneys or, multiple attorneys to cover all of that. So you certainly see, in my experience, even for large cities that do have in-house attorneys, they still are outsourcing work depending upon the legal matter. So I certainly think that the city of Pontiac is in line with other cities in the fact that we're outsourcing our legal services. Additionally, when we look at the fee structure, to the point that you raised, I almost universally see situations where, attorneys are being charged on an hourly basis. I don't know offhand any, city or attorney or law firm that's taking something on a kind of a fee-based, non-hourly situation, because we just don't know what kind of activity is going to occur, and how long. When you start getting into cases, and it's oftentimes, in my experience, I think most attorneys feel is next to impossible to predict how much time and resources they're going to have to expend on any particular case or any particular matter. So both the fact that we outsource it and the structure that we have, I think, is very much in line with how most other cities are structured.
Just briefly, Mr. Carrington, but what I did get from your statement is that if we had, that's for future administration, if they bring in an attorney or two, that would save the citizens a whole lot of money, though, in respect. I'm sure when things come up and they can't handle those issues, yes, we definitely have to contract them out. But having our own city attorney would help, especially in the mayor's office.
Yeah,
That would bring savings to the city. I mean, in general, that's what I heard from you. So
no, I was saying, even in situations where people have in-house attorneys, there's still a need to outsource that.
But all in all, it would save some money if we could get a little savings out of it. It'd be good, because if you know that you can contract out and you can just call Jimmy Joe and whoever and just spend money. But if we have our own in-house source, and you can follow that money more and what they need to do, like Mr. President has mentioned. I mean, it's way over budget. No one came to the council and asked for a penny. They just kept spending. So that wouldn't happen in-house, and we can keep a. And I just want to touch upon what you said. I'm reading what you're saying, and I appreciate you. You don't have to say it. I'll say it. You save more money. Of course, there's things going to come up, but we can go get them as we need them. So thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any questions before we adjourn this meeting?
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilwoman Doris Taylor Burks, go ahead. Stay where you're from. Stay where you're calling in from.
Doris Taylor Burks, meeting from Pontiac, Michigan, and I apologize, but I had an emergency, and I'm glad I made it back to be on the program.
Okay. All right. So thank you for being here. You have any questions, Councilwoman?
No, sir. I don't.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Sharamsky.
Well, this is a boring one, and it's now gone off my screen because I couldn't print it. But it's a cemetery. I think it's 273 and 276. So this is the department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's got salaries and overtime, and I noticed that increased. And does that represent one person? How many people does that represent?
I don't know the exact answer to that question. I would think that is going to potentially reflect multiple people, because we are allocating cost over to that. So can you give me the exact count, Councilwoman?
Let's see. One of them for Oak Hill is 209-276-702-000.
Okay.
You see that? And the overtime actually increased. It went from projected this year, $8,307. Last year, $170. Now it's $10,000. And it's a similar scenario on the Ottawa Park and Department 3.
Yeah, and I'll have to follow up, but in all likelihood, that's an allocation from some of
Okay.
the
The reason
DPW work.
the reason I'm asking this, yeah, that's what I want to know, is what are we paying Covenant for exactly? Because they're running 70-something thousand, 80-something thousand at each cemetery. Let's see, which cemetery is this? Ottawa Park. They're up to, okay, now they've got them going down to 28,640, I think it says. And before it was 73,840 in the 219, 220 budget. And I know their contract is up, I believe, January. So what are the differences in these figures? Why? Is that because the contract is up and you anticipate doing something different?
I'm not aware of anything differently being done.
Because it looks like to me like the salaries are going up, but the Covenant, it seems to be going down. And where are these employees? Who are they? You know, are they our employees? Like you said, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, those certainly would be our employees. Anytime we use salaries and wages, those certainly should be City of Pontiac employees. But I'll verify that.
What exactly are we paying them for? Because I'm telling you what, I've heard from many monument companies and funeral homes, and they're highly upset with Covenant. And a lot of other local cemeteries have fired them.
Yeah, I believe we still have some maintenance or upkeep that we do over there.
Could you find out for me, please, with these two cemeteries, exactly who's doing what and what we're paying for? I don't mind paying our employees for any work they're doing. I'm wondering what we're paying them for. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Sharansky, along with that point, Mr. Carrington, when we had the emergency manager come, they rated the cemetery endowment fund that was here. And one of the things that needs to be looked into is replacing that fund because a lot of people have paid into the longevity of the cemetery and making sure their loved ones were treated with dignity. And so to the extent that we do have extra money coming into the city, that's something that needs to be looked at and made whole.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else got a question before we adjourn this meeting?
So Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
Your 6 p.m. regular council meeting, nothing but a budget meeting, but I guess you still will have to call that meeting to order, but there were no other agenda items but the budget.
They added the resolution from Petula about the trailers, I believe, from last week. And then it was one more discussion item. You weren't here last week, Mr. Clerk. So by the time you reminded us, we had already voted to move it to next week. So it was that. Attorney Sharp, can you remember what the other item was?
No, because I thought it was just stated that it was going to just be a budget hearing, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought we moved that to 2 weeks
Yeah,
unless
Okay,
it's
awesome.
on there for this week.
Well, that's awesome. So the 6 o'clock meeting, we can open it and hear public comments and then close the meeting if people don't have any additional budget items for tomorrow. I mean, for today.
And then you have a
Mr.
budget
Clerk,
meeting.
Would you need to have a date to do these changes?
But that's what I was going. That's what I was going to say. So you have a budget meeting set for tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm going to go through the list of what Councilwoman Waterman stated and put that together in a list and try to have that ready for the 10 o'clock meeting tomorrow. But then in addition to that, there are several requests that you made of Mr. Carrington.
Correct.
And if you're proposing a 3% raise across the board, a number of these Speakers wouldn't be incorrect, which would have to be in essence amended. So I'm saying all that to say, you're gonna have to, I guess,
Yeah,
schedule
I think,
additional.
Yes.
I think we
You're gonna
probably
have-
should schedule a meeting for
Yeah.
Monday morning. If the budget is due on Tuesday, I believe.
What, the budget
Okay.
ain't due until the end of the month, right?
No,
No, I'm
Scott,
saying-
I'm sorry.
No.
It's 1 week, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, it's 1 week before the new fiscal year. So it would be,
Okay.
actually
24,
24th,
Yeah, the 24th.
June 24th. You have to have a budget in place.
Oh,
But I
Yeah,
would
that's,
think
but
you would
what
wanna
I'm
do it
saying is
ahead of
we
time.
need to schedule, we
Yeah.
need to schedule a meeting that Monday so we can deliberate on Tuesday if there's some changes, Councilwoman Waterman, is what I'm thinking.
And you need 50th District's courts information as well.
Right, that was the other.
Yeah, so can we schedule a meeting for Monday at 10 o'clock? And then I know Councilwoman Peeler had an emergency, and we can ask her about it at 6 o'clock. So if she's back at 6, then we can schedule the meeting then at tonight's meeting. That makes sense to me.
So you will still proceed at 10 o'clock tomorrow?
No,
No, you would not. You would cancel tomorrow and do it Monday.
right. But we need to vote on it at the 6 o'clock meeting tonight. That just makes sense to me. So
I mean, you can
everybody
vote on
can.
it now since it's.
No, what I'm
budget.
saying is everybody will be here
Oh,
tonight
okay.
at 6 o'clock. That way we can just do that and then we can have public comments and then in the meeting.
So you're not gonna have a meeting tomorrow. You're still gonna have to call the meeting.
Okay.
Because it was already been posted
Okay.
tomorrow at 10. But the plan is June 24th. I'm sorry, no, June 21st.
Right. And then that will give us 3 days if we had to do anything additional.
Okay. Okay,
what time? What time, June 21st?
10 a.m. Then you say 10
yeah.
a.m.?
Yeah, 10 a.m. But we're gonna vote on it at the 6 o'clock meeting tonight. So everybody can think about it and check their calendars and do all that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna
All right.
adjourn this meeting at 4:58. See everyone at 6 o'clock.